This movie sounds amazing. I love a good horror flick.
So the algorithm recently promoted Critical Drinker's Midsommar review to me, which was a few years old, and honestly, it's one of the most shallow, empathetic reviews on all of YouTube. I just have to make a response and call out how ridiculous and outright wrong it is. Not really a fan in general of Critical Drinker, to be honest, as he is extremely predictable and kind of annoying.
There now.
Yes, I'm probably just jealous of his subscriber count and success, but all that aside, this review takes the whole anti-woke thing to a whole other level and misses the plot entirely. His entire analysis is political culture war projection, much of which is not even in the film at all. I've been wanting to do an analysis of this film, so I'll just use his objectively inaccurate breakdown of the film as a jumping off point and add my own commentary with corrections. Let's start off with something the critical alcoholic got objectively wrong about the film.
But then Josh asks one question too many, and he gets murdered by a retard wearing Mark's face. No, whatever.
So were you blackout drunk when watching this? Because no, the severely deformed
retard
was not wearing Mark's face and was not the one to kill him. You can see him in the corner of the shot before a non-disabled person swings the mallet on him. It was the dude who was staring at him for pissing on the sacred tree.
Someone's so sore about their ancestral tree. Dude, is he gonna kill me?
So just to establish, this review is based on someone who didn't even carefully watch the film as it actually is.
You know, movies like this are why I drink. Retard. The movie kicks off in dramatic fashion by introducing us to our main character, Danny. She's an annoying, emotionally needy college student that her boyfriend Christian's planning to break up with. But then her annoying, emotionally needy sister kills her parents and commits suicide, so I guess he's stuck with her now. Flash forward 6 months and Danny's still sad and needy. Oh, get over it already.
So someone who doesn't recover from the death of their entire family via her sister is annoying and emotionally needy. That's literally one of the worst things that can happen to a person. I know this is a fictional film and I know you're just trying to be an edgy, obnoxious Irishman, but that level of lack of empathy is perhaps why you were completely unable to connect with anyone or anything in this film, aside from her boyfriend Christian. Sounds like you need a bear suit and a good ritual or something. And you state she was emotionally needy before the whole sister thing, when the movie literally introduces the two things simultaneously. Quick, make an irrelevant woke reference to something that isn't even in the film at all.
You know when you've got an awesome night planned with your mates and one of them half-heartedly invites his vegan, teetotal, left-wing activist girlfriend along, assuming she won't accept, but then she totally does, and you just know you can kiss goodbye to any prospect of fun. Yeah, well, it's basically that.
No, it's not really like that at all. I don't know why you're even talking about vegan left-wing activists aside from totally unneeded projection and framing to appeal to your audience who doesn't even seem to watch the stuff you review, based upon some of the comments I've seen under your videos.
Everything seems perfect when they arrive. The people were friendly and welcoming, the farm looks like it came straight out of a postcard, and there's a chilled out vibe to the whole thing. Then some old people throw themselves off a cliff and one of them gets his fucking face smashed in with a warhammer. Now this is probably the point at which normal people would realise that all is not well with this place, and that it would be a good idea to gather up your gear, make some polite excuses, and leave.
They did strongly want to leave, and the British couple did attempt to leave. There was immediate concern from the others when hearing the dude left before his fiancée, but it was attributed to the couple maybe having a conflict, which is reasonable. The anthropologist wanting insight and studying the culture is a reasonable explanation as to why they would want to stay. And do not forget that they're regularly ingesting hallucinogens and they're out in the middle of nowhere in a foreign country. Atstupa was an actual real thing. The name supposedly denotes sites where ritual genocide took place during pagan Nordic prehistoric times, whereby elderly people threw themselves or were thrown to their deaths. For you to claim that all of these characters are just illogical idiots like a Scream film or something is just a shallow, superficial lie.
It's quite simply a disaster on every level. It has absolutely nothing valuable to say about anything. Its characters are the usual vacuous shells that you feel absolutely nothing for, and its plot features absolutely no shocking surprises or smart revelations.
This dude wants a complete and total exposition for a surreal horror film that largely revolves around a paganistic occultic group and psychedelic drug use. It doesn't get much more irrational than that. You want everything explained? Well, part of the reality of cults is they're bonded together through a collective irrationality. This film operates like The Shining or 2001, where the film is meant to be more experiential and ambiguous, not a clear-cut, knuckle-dragging exposition. And the reason many people were so deeply disturbed by this film is because, unlike you, man, people did empathize and connect with Florence Pugh and the other characters. I can't think of a form of psychological trauma worse than what her character is living, yet you frame it like they're watching a character in a Scream film.
You know how all those old school slasher movies intentionally made their characters dumb and unlikable, and distant and kind of unstable, and that's pretty much how she stays throughout the film. There's no redemption, no growth, no revelations. Remember how her sister killed herself at the start? Well, wouldn't it be interesting if that actually tied into the events of the story? Like her sister was connected to the cult in some way, or they murdered her to precipitate Danny's ultimate involvement in all this. Wouldn't it be good if that subplot actually had some kind of resolution?
The entire film revolves around the actions of the sister. That is what set everything in motion for Danny to even wind up in this position. To state there is no connection and payoff is outright idiotic. Hereditary had a supernatural element to it, with all of the occult stuff. You ever consider the possibility that the intention of the film was to imply that Danny was somehow pre-selected and that some paganistic force, which the cult operates under the influence of, also influenced Danny's sister, but just in a more subtle way, versus spoon-fed dummy exposition and clear-cut explanation like you want.
So you're coming to Hälsingland?
I guess so, yeah. And we'll actually be arriving on my birthday.
You want everything spoon-fed to you, but part of the appeal of horror is the unknown, and that horrific and bad things can happen to people who don't deserve it. The film is meant to be an experience of a pagan ritual. This idea that every film needs an ultimate twist or conclusion, like a dumb M. Night Shyamalan film, is, in my opinion, shallow.
The difference is I never got the chance to feel lost because I had a family.
And no growth, everyone dying except for Danny, and Danny being assimilated into the pagan cult via her trauma, is the growth in the context of a horror film. It is a horror film, dummy. Its purpose is not some moral payoff to teach a lesson in growth, it is to make the audience feel disturbed. Danny's old family has been replaced in juxtaposition of her new family. It hints Pele may have had been selected in the same sort of way.
That's what you were given. But I have always felt held.
When people ingest psychedelics and have bad trips, is that a linear and clear experience? This film was meant to show irrational pagan ritual that worships the cycles of nature rather than good and bad morality, and how drastically psychedelics can alter the perception of reality. It's meant to contrast the group of friends that are all at odds with each other in contrast to the pagan cult, which operates like a complete hive mind. They're bonded in everything, including sex and death. There's a fine line between cult and culture. The pagan cult values its symbols and traditions and adherence to mimicking the cycles of nature over everything.
Ah, fuck it. And why does this movie act as if Christian somehow deserves what happened to him? Like his death is justified retribution for what he did. But oh well, I guess this is what empowered female characters look like now.
The fact that you think this is somehow about female empowerment and that this movie was showing this as a good thing is almost more disturbing than the film itself, and is only a reflection of your own projection and muddy lens. Yes, Christian was a flawed character and unlikable in many ways, but I don't think most people watching this film felt that he deserved what happened to him. Hence, a horror film trying to have a very disturbing ending. That was the whole payoff. It wasn't a good thing that was happening. I don't know what movie you watched.
It's long, it's dull, and most of all, it's horribly pretentious.
Everyone has the right to their own opinion and not liking the film, but that's not the same thing as mischaracterizing the entire thing and responding to your mischaracterization. Is the film pretentious, or are you just stupid and drunk? Perhaps I will do an entire scene-by-scene analysis of the symbolism in the film at some point. Anyways,
go away.
Bye.